Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to reflect on the manifestos that were released recently in the forthcoming Kenya general elections. And I mainly wanted to focus on the Azimio la Umoja Kenya Manifesto that was released by Honorable Raila Odinga. In his manifesto, he captured his aspirations and vision for Kenya as it is in the present, and also Kenya as he envisioned it in the future. His manifesto has a 10-point plan which encompasses the social, economic, and political aspects of Kenya's development. The main talking point focused on his promise on industrialization. And as we realize, for Kenya to transform her economy, there is need to industrialize. Any country that does not have an industrial basis cannot and will not achieve self-reliance, will not offer adequate opportunities to its citizens, and therefore cannot claim to be moving towards that status of being developed or middle income country. And therefore, what Raila outlined was the key manufacturing sectors that he was going to focus on, and this included heavy industries such as steel, food manufacturing such as beverages, and textile manufacturing. In this video, I'll try to expound on the key points on each of these sectors. And the first we will reflect on is heavy industries. And heavy industries, the examples that we have include aerospace industries, shipbuilding, mining, machine tool building, locomotive manufacturing, oil and gas production, steel production, and chemical production. And if you look critically, these are the bedrock of any economy. They determine what kind of employment people undertake, what kind of studies universities will promote and offer. The establishment of these industries have an impact that affects the physical infrastructure, social infrastructure, and even political and diplomatic relationship. As an example, if we talk about the United Kingdom today, most of the major cities we have started in places where there was some kind of manufacturing, such as steel manufacturing in Sheffield, or coal industries that were everywhere, and also textile industries. And then the second aspect that Raila talked about was food manufacturing. Kenya is a leader in food production in many sectors, such as tea, coffee, vegetables like French beans. Kenya also exports a lot of flowers to Europe. However, what we notice is that we export the food in unprocessed form. Raila pointed out that we export coffee and then we import Nescafe. And the only difference is that we now buy the same coffee as Nescafe at a higher price. Why? Because of the value that has been added. If that value was added in Kenya, then the country itself and the people would benefit from it. So what we notice is that our coffee in Kenya is driving industries everywhere. In Kenya, it's only farmers who will benefit from that, and maybe the transport sector who transport the beans. Countries such as the United Kingdom that process the coffee into Nescafe, and those are industries. And where there is an industry, there is a factory, people live around that place. We have transport, so it provides employment, it provides opportunities for urbanization, and where people live, we have shops, we have those who will be operating those shopping complexes, and we will have garages that repair people's cars. It is a driver of many sectors. In the end, Kenya becomes the net loser. If we grew the coffee and then processed it and turned it into Nescafe, the benefits would be huge. In Kisumu area and the whole of Western Kenya, we have potential to produce groundnuts, and these groundnuts can be made into peanut butter. Could have factories there that make peanut butter. We have packaging industry that goes hand in hand with that. And we have research into those areas. So we have research sectors being promoted. And where you have research, then there is development of knowledge and all those things. So it's a trickle-down thing that we should focus on. And then the third sector that Raila talked about was textile manufacturing. And we know that clothing industry cannot run out. People will always need to wear clothes. In Kenya, the textile industry is mainly divided into two. We have the formal textile industry itself, and then we have the mitumba sector. In the 70s, we had a lot of textile industry. We had Kikomi in Kisumu, Rivertex, and Raymond in Eldoret. We have Kenya Titex mills in Thika. Because of that, a lot of emphasis was there on planting of cotton. Many people are educated because of the money they got from planting cotton. And then we have the mitumba sector. And this is mainly a business that buys and sells used clothes. And most of these used clothes come from outside Kenya. And there is a significant price difference between the two brands. That's the formal textile industry and mitumba. Mitumba clothes will be cheaper. This is according to Textile Value Chain report. According to them, Kenya is the world's largest importer of second-hand clothing. The highest supplier to Kenya is China. Second-hand clothing means clothes that have been worn by other people. Why is Kenya the world's largest importer of second-hand clothing? Kenya can produce its own clothes. Kenya can develop a thriving textile industry. While mitumba may give income to millions, it will at the same time cost the country millions of jobs. According to the Textile Value Chain report, about 2 million people are employed by the mitumba sector. And this is also supported by the Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya. And they are claiming that additional 500 jobs can be created through a sorting center for mitumba. Many people have criticized Raila Odinga, and for them it's like a suggestion that his administration is going to ban the mitumba sector. And there is a worry that people may think that millions of jobs will be lost. But if people looked at this thing critically and stopped focusing on that individualistic aspect, they should consider that actually the existence of mitumba industry is stifling the growth of the textile industry in Kenya. Because of that, factories that will be processing cotton and those other things are not working. Farmers who will be planting cotton and those who rear sheep are out of work. And therefore, we have generations coming that cannot benefit from the textile industry if it exists in Kenya. Few people actually benefit from mitumba. It's a short-term fix. It cannot lead to development. It is a means of income, yes. But let's look at it critically. If we were to be making our own clothes, if the textile industries were working and our farmers were planting cotton and other crops, and our farmers were raising sheep and their wool was being processed, we would have jobs at the grassroots level, in transport, in factories, in the supply chain that will be supporting those industries, among our fundis who will be making those clothes, and our designers. And we would have people opening fashion houses in Kenya, and therefore we would have a bigger industry employing millions of people. Every year, our universities, our technical colleges will be producing people who will be joining this sector. And this sector will be producing jobs every year. So it's a cycle that ensures that as we develop, we provide means of employment. And that is mainly what Raila Odinga is focusing on. Okay, we have a short stop that people do not have employment, therefore they can go into the mitumba sector and make their living there. But we should not be condemned into that sector, because what we are doing is we are driving the Chinese economy. We are driving the Bangladeshi economy, and yet we are stifling our own economy. So the best thing that has come out of this unveiling is that people are being made to think deeply into what governance should be and what vision we should have for our country. We should not have this short-sighted vision of just money into the pocket, not looking at tomorrow. So for me, this is a manifesto that works. It needs to be supported because what we call social transformation, we focus on where we are and the problems that we are facing. And then we look at what do we have in place that can help us to make this situation better. And then we decide where do we want to be tomorrow, next year, the next 10 years, in the next century. How do we want our people to live? Do we want them to still be selling mitumbas? But in reality, do we really think that by encouraging importation of second-hand clothes, we are helping ourselves as a country, condemning ourselves to exporting coffee and tea and flowers? And therefore, there is need for this forward-thinking leadership. Where do we want to be? And why are we poor? Because we have not established a sustainable way of development. Why have we not done that? Because of this short-sightedness where we think importing second-hand clothes and establishing it as a means of income is going to solve our problem. It's not. It's benefiting very, very few people. Being enslaved is not just a matter of somebody sitting over you. Somebody can sit over you intellectually. They brainwash you into thinking you are incapable of doing very little things like making clothes. We have very, very good designers in Kenya, but they cannot achieve what they want because we are condemned into this cycle of recycling other people's waste. And why are we doing that? It's because the country is poor. And why are we poor? Because we have not established a sustainable way of development. Why have we not done that? Because of this short-sightedness where we think that importing second-hand clothes and establishing it as a means of income is going to solve our problem. It's not. It's benefiting very, very few people. Look at what we did in the cultural sector, and that's a success story. We used to mainly watch plays from Nigeria, India, Mexico, America, until our youth decided that we can do better, we can produce our own, and now we have a thriving industry in arts. Look at football, we have very, very good teams, but why are we not developing? Because we don't think of sports as an industry. So for me and you, it's time to reflect deeply and critically at our country and how it's developing. And I commend President Uhuru Kenyatta for what he has done. The country needs infrastructure. Moi wasted 24 years. I think the bold moves to improve our infrastructure, followed by the bold move to industrialize this country, the bold move to transform our thinking so that we move from this position of treating ourselves as second-hand citizens of the world, being dependent on second-hand clothes. We should start exporting our own things, exporting our clothes, exporting the Masai shuka, exporting Kenyan peanut butter, exporting Kenyan steel, exporting Kenyan oil and gas, our own gold from Kakamega, exotic ornaments from Kisii soapstone. And within no time, we will realize our dream of development. But the first thing we have to do is to stop this cycle of poverty. we have to say enough is enough. And to address that, we need to elect responsible leadership. And that's why I think the best choice for Kenya in the coming general election is to elect Raila Odinga and Martha Karua to transform this country.
Hadithi zilizosemwa na wazazi, muziki twaimba twacheza, ulitoka Afrika.